What's stopping the Feds from just printing the money and buying every Bitcoin now?
I don't think there's anything stopping them with the exception of their monetary policy to add Bitcoin into their balance sheets. Because at the end of the day, up until now, September 2021, not a lot of these governments actually understand it or even allow it in their country. So I think it will go to a lot of regulatory hurdles first before it gets approved. But at the end of the day, there's no way for any person to stop them also just buying up all of the Bitcoin that's out there. So
How you're going to try to layer over an analog monetary system over a digital economy. I just can't see how that's going to happen. And I can't also see how the banks, the central banks, are going to produce a digital dollar and claim that it solves the problem when it only digitizes the previous one. The problem's not in the paper. We're not trying to solve a tree problem of printing paper. We're trying to solve a monetary crisis, which has been mismanaged since they took it off the gold standard and started backing their economy with guns, or their currency with guns and military. And the worst part here, Marvin, the thing that scares me the most is it worked for 50 years, but I mean, like any Ponzi scheme, it works until it doesn't, right? And let's face it, what they're doing has been a Ponzi scheme, because you're generating the spending from the bottom, because you're forcing countries around the world to use your dollar, because you price everything, all commodities in it, from the petrodollar onwards. So these countries are obligated to use your global currency as a reserve currency. Money goes into the bottom of the pyramid, then it comes out of the top. Only the richest get their money out of it. And we've seen the wealth distribution in the last 2 years. I think we're talking about, is it 13 trillion or something? It's ridiculous, the amount that has been transferred from the middle class to the elite.
There's so much to unpack there. Number one, I got it. That secret mo pala kay Guapo, 8 hours of sleep. I need to get into that.
Oh naman! Yeah!
8-hour regime to get into that. And there's something interesting about play to earn. Because people have been earning through gaming a couple of years, for years already, but those are the top gamers. And now, you don't have to be the best one in the world already to earn from it. And I think it's so amazing that it's happening right now, where everyone's locked in, that they have an opportunity to earn by staying at home. You have never seen anything like that it levels the playing field already, that hindi mo kailangan maging matangkad, hindi mo kailangan maging sobrang talino, hindi mo kailangan magkaroon ng connections to so many people. All you need is your phone, and all you need is access to the internet, doing what you like, to be able to earn a bit. And you don't even have to quit your job also to do it as well. So I just find it very, very interesting. What's your advice to a lot of people who are skeptical in this, and maybe they've heard about it, they had some ideas about it, but to them it's so new and it's not worth getting into?
Do your own research. And the only way for you to really do effective research is to have a little bit of skin in the game. Mm-hmm. So there's going to be a little bit of, I don't think there's any way that I could advise people to get in here risk-free. So if you're looking for that option, no, this is not the space for you. Okay, so understand that there's risk, and so know that upfront. Now, the risk can be managed in your long-term view. If you're looking at what you're wise, understand what you're doing first. I'm only going to tell you what I did, and if you relate to it, apply it to your own life, because I don't know what station of life you're in right now. But it's firstly to understand the problem that you're trying to solve. Do you really believe in this, or is this just really just a money-making scheme for you? I'll go with the former first. You really believe in it, then that means that you're invested in the outcome of what problem you want to solve, and you want to change the world, etc. From that point, you'll put down a little bit of money, something that you're willing to park. I don't want to say willing to lose, willing to park, but park for a while, like 5 years. Make it something that, yeah, it's not going to take away from your day-to-day bills. It's not going to take food off anyone's table, but it's going to feel, it hurts them enough that if you lost it, it's going to hurt. That way, it fuels your passion for research, because if you don't have skin in the game, you're not really going to go down that rabbit hole. You're just going to keep checking the prices and then looking at YouTube and asking trading advice from people that really don't know your whole situation. And the best way to get the wrong answer is to ask everybody. So What you do is just you get a little skin in the game, do your own research about the fundamentals first. You find out what problem you need to solve. Okay, how does this solve the problem? Right? I'm talking about, maybe we're talking 100 hours of research before you start getting into that. But it's a fascinating rabbit hole. So it doesn't feel like a chore to me. I mean, I really, by choice now, I watch financial channels, I watch documentaries, I try to understand the history of this, the history of that, geopolitics, because everything is interconnected. And this way you have a broader view of the world. You will not just understand finances, because once you unravel all of this, I call it like it's your chicken nuggets moment, because once you see how chicken nuggets and sausages are really made, which is how the banking system is, you can't unsee, and you may not want to eat it again. You know what I mean? But it will also open your mind to everything. So you're not walking around just completely with blinders, like how most of societies are really taught, because it's easier to govern a society that doesn't ask questions, right? So this will lead you to another journey of awakening. You'll be going, oh my God, everything's like this. Media's like that pala too. So you know what? That's what's fascinating for me. All of the things that it opens your eyes to, because they're all interconnected. And once you understand that, I'm pretty sure that you won't worry about the dips anymore, because your vision is so far ahead. You're so empowered by what you could possibly change and be a part of that the financial reward will just be that gravy on top of it. I can only, Marvin, I don't know how this sounds to your reader viewers right now, because I can only speak for me, and my brain doesn't work financially. My money has always come as a result of. I dedicate myself to what I believe in and what I'm passionate about. And when I did that, that's the only time the money became came in. Previous to that, I was on a week-to-week or fortnight-to-fortnight salary, and I just had to make ends meet. And it took me to invest in myself first to be able to get here to this space. So yeah, do your own research, get some skin in the game, enjoy the rabbit hole, and then let the money come as a result of. That's the perfect formula for me.
Got it.
Not financial advice.
but I like the way you would do it, and I think that's the formula to be successful. Is don't focus on the money first. Focus on building either the skills necessary or adding value into what you do, and then that's when the money starts to come in.
Exactly.
I want to have some fun here, and we do this to the people who have been guesting for the first time. If you have any question, one question for me, what would it be? So the scarier the question, the better, I guess. Or anything that you'd like to ask.
Bitcoin is sound money, right? So it is what many people call perfect money, because it's immutable, it's fungible, it is portable, it's got all the properties of money. And the problem we're trying to solve is the fake money that's coming in, the helicopter money, the fake money from the feds that are being printed out of the US to bail out the banks and prop the stock market up and stuff like that. We are going, okay, I'm investing in Bitcoin to get away from that. What's stopping the feds from just printing the money and buying every Bitcoin now? Because they're just making their own money. Can they do that and translate unbacked money into hard assets and actually, or will it come out in the wash at some point?
I think there will come a point in time where you will have more central banks buying Bitcoin, similar to what's happening to El Salvador. And maybe because of this video, they start actually doing it. I don't think there's anything stopping them, with the exception of their monetary policy, to add Bitcoin into their balance sheets. Because at the end of the day, up until now, September 2021, not a lot of these governments actually understand it or even allow it in their country. So I think it will go to a lot of regulatory hurdles first before it gets approved. But at the end of the day, there's no way for any person to stop them also just buying up all of the Bitcoin that's out there. So I think it's a large motivation for us to start buying it before everyone else starts to come in. And I think that's what makes Bitcoin so special, because there's only 21 million. There's actually maybe 17 plus, because if you remove all of the ones that were lost, people forgot their seed phrases, etc., there will only be around 70 plus million circulating. There will be equal opportunity for everyone to buy, but in the same way, those that come in later will have to buy it at a very, very high price. So I think governments will come into it. The question will be at what level will they be buying it as well? Because even if you look at El Salvador, they're buying it 45 plus thousand. They're not buying it at a very, very cheap price. So I think eventually larger governments will enter this, but they won't be able to buy it at levels where those who entered in, who bought it at a lower price will be. So I don't think the Michael Saylors of the world will be selling chunks of their Bitcoin. So there will be scarcity into it, and that's what makes Bitcoin special up against the other tokens out there. Could they do it? They have all the money in the world to actually do it as well.
Yeah, I think that I like the scarcity angle, and I like the fact that well, they do have to show it on the balance sheet, so they do have to respond. Very super last question, because I also want to.
Let's do this.
Does the central bank here operate the same way? I mean, everything I've talked to you about with the money printing and all that, that's all my information is all US. Do we have a similar system here in the Philippines where the central bank can print with the same level of irresponsibility that the US does? And how does the US devaluation or inflation, whichever way it goes, affect us?
We hold a lot of dollars. So whatever happens to the value of the dollar will affect us as well. I don't have the figures in my head right now, but we have as of where we are right now, we have one of the largest stockpiles of US dollars in Philippine history right now. At any given point, this is the largest that we've ever had. So the less valuable the US dollar will be in the future, or if it gets, the currency shifts to another, or other currencies will use another standard currency altogether, it will affect us also as a whole. If the value of the dollar is lower, then you hold a lot of it, that becomes very, 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 very scary, because you're holding something that's a lot, doesn't have a lot of value over the long term. Do we do what the US government is doing? We don't print a lot. And this is something that's interesting that a lot of people don't actually see it. What makes it scary is when they print money, they use the money that they print to buy bonds. We don't do that here. We don't do any of that. We don't do any of that here. So you print, and then you just buy back whatever bonds that's out there. So parang umiikot lang din yung pera, and then you're storing something also that's of debt. That doesn't happen here. I think our central bank is more conservative in handling the monetary policy as compared to other central banks that have developed more. They actually call it more alternative methods of monetary easing. So will we go there? I don't know yet. We're very traditional, but what's nice about the Philippines though is in terms of cryptos, we have exchanges that are regulated, which is not happening in other countries as well. So we're a bit forward into that, but into other things highly connected to what's happening to the US, I think we're a step back because we're more traditional in nature.
It sounds like a good step back for me. It sounds more responsible in terms that we're not just printing like because they're printing, I think, with the thought that well, everyone has to buy through US dollars, so we'll never run out. But if the world called their bluff, because that smacks of hubris to me when you say that, especially when your military has not been able to back up in Afghanistan, and China's military is getting stronger. So, wow, I'm comforted by that. Thank you, Marvin. That makes me feel a little bit better about here. But do you think that there's a narrative is shifting now? When I first joined into the crypto space, the narrative was for the last 5-10 years has been inflation. They're printing money, they're debasing their currency. We've already seen inflation kick in the United States pretty hard, and it's hitting the shelves already. Now the narrative shifting, and they're saying that they're probably going to go into a deflationary model. Have you heard that?
There are people who are in this extreme, and there are people who are in the other side of things that they're gonna go to a deflationary season. I'm more leaning still to inflation. At the end of it all, if you continually print, it's more inflationary than deflationary altogether. And history has shown it over and over. And even if you look at what has happened in the US, I'm leaning towards more of inflation happening at this very moment. Because at the end of it all, when you have more money going around, more people spend. When more people spend, more people have salaries. When more people have salaries, they continue to spend more. Then this business starts to expand. Then nagtataasan sila ng price. What's that? That's all inflationary in nature as well. So I'm leaning towards the side that at the end of it all, it's still inflationary given that there's more money around. And the problem though is, and what's not talked about a lot is, this entire money that's moving around, where is it going? And if you look at where it is, it's in the stock market. That's why you've seen a lot of these tech companies that in the midst of this pandemic have been hitting high upon high upon high upon high. And what people don't see is February 2020, before the pandemic, the US stock market was already at an all-time high. It was already at its highest. Then the pandemic happened, it dropped, then went higher than the previous high, February 2020. But after that, it continued zoomed. Then at the start of the year, retraced a bit. Then where we are right now, it's even higher. So if you're asking where the money is, it's not really trickling to the economy as what everyone expected of where the happened. It's all in the stock market. So there.
And the other place that's ending up is in China, because all of the manufacturing has been outsourced to China. And now that they're having some supply shock from the shipping and also from the fact that they have been giving their money. So that's even scarier. It seems like they're empowering China with the money that they're printing, and then the rest is in the stock market. The stock market looks like it's going up, but a lot of people say it's no, because the dollar is getting more worthless. So now it costs you $100 to buy a $50 stock. So don't think it's $100 stock. It's still a $50 stock being sold at $100, because $100 is what it takes now to buy the same product. That's where the house of cards looks like it's going to just fall down, and I just don't know which way it's going to go, because if they do adjust their rates and their interest rates and bonds and stuff, they could effectively switch it into a deflationary model to protect the global reserve, meaning how people, obviously, like you said, the Philippines has all this dollars, and we're one of all these countries that keep dollars to buy. But if that inflates and it now costs us double to buy the same commodity, it's going to be disastrous. So to fix that, they go into a deflationary model, adjusting their rates. But internally, surely that will collapse and turn the country into a recession. Because I was just looking now, they're 125%. Their debt to GDP is 125%. That's the highest ever. I think it's now $228,000 per taxpayer is the debt per taxpayer. Each taxpayer in the United States owns $228,000. I can't even wrap my head around how do you pay back $28 trillion worth of debt? And there's something like, I don't know how many trillions of money. There's only like 8 trillion circulating in the world, right? From what I understand, in cash. But the United States owes 30 trillion to who? Pluto, Mars? I mean, who's lending us this money that we don't have? I can't wrap my head around this, Marvin.
But there's one thing that's so sure about all of this, regardless if it's inflationary or deflationary. The wealth gap between those extremely rich and then the ones that are in the lower side of society will just get wider and wider and wider. That's something that, regardless of what scenario will happen.
I correct you there. The Bitcoin scenario fixes that.
Yeah.
So the inflationary, deflationary, we can agree. Either way, the gap's going to get wider, but the Bitcoin scenario is where we start bringing it back.
Yep. So if there's one, just to put this entire video to a close, to everyone watching this, do your due diligence. Take the time to learn about it, because and James said it properly. Put a small amount that's for the long term, so that you actually see it for yourself. Because when just to share, when I started, I just wanted skin in the game. I just wanted to try it. I just said, okay, this is a different asset class compared to the stock market, which is where I really was into. And the more I was into it, then you add the lockdowns. I had more time to study. Made me realize that I'm not just in it anymore as an investment, as an asset class, that we're actually seeing the future unfold before our very eyes. But I had to see it for myself, because literally, James, 2018, my friend had to drag me to force me to open an account, and I wasn't, nahiya lang din ako na hindi mag-open. But if you didn't do that, then I wouldn't maybe have started earlier as well. And I hope that if there's anything that these videos have done, it's something that would tickle your fancy to actually start investing and learn
Yes.
more about it. I'm sure everyone knows about you, but James, how can they get in touch? Shows that you have, podcasts that you have, where can they reach you?
Well, I'm most active on Facebook, James Deakin, and Tito Clock is the podcast every Friday. Yeah, if you just do Facebook, you'll find the rest of me. That's my central platform.
So
I'm seeing you there.
go to Google, guys, search Mayaman na Tito, then for sure it will pop out.
No, this is another thing. Is a lot of people think, because I guess I was a new face in the space, so they're saying, "Oh, mayaman si Tito because I lost money on Toro." I don't know if you heard that story. This doesn't have to be on the record if you want. It doesn't bother me because I've written about it. But yeah, I had a pretty scary experience with eToro, but it was on my credit card, so I'm actually in debt in going into my first investment. So yeah, no yachts for me yet. No yachts.
Got it. So everyone, I hope you guys got a lot from this, and I hope this video helps you trade well, trade strong, trade smart. See you all again soon, and God bless you.